performance as Navratri celebrations light up across the globe. We explore how Jigar Soni is blending tradition with innovation, putting modern Garba on the international map. That and much more lined up this morning. First up, the top headlines. We start with the H1B storm and India's talent future. Who wins when America closes its doors? Canada, Germany, UK, all of them are eyeing Indian professionals, the highly skilled ones. India is also bracing for reverse migration wave. We'll talk about these patterns and decode this large story with our expert joining us this morning. And it's all about Navratri, Garba that doesn't end with this festival. Jigar Soni talks about taking Garba to the world, keeping Garba real for a new generation. What are his plans? We'll be going across to him in just a bit. And then Prasenjit on Devi Chaudrani release, Bengal's first India-UK film collab. Prasenjit talks about the biggest Bengali film yet and why Bengali cinema has no Bahubali. Well, let's start with the H1B storm. It's here, pretty much here. US has made it harder, it's made it costlier for Indian professionals to work. Indians who once formed the backbone of Silicon Valley and American hospitals are now stuck in the middle of a policy churn. For years, Indians made up more than 2/3 of all H1B visa holders. But those numbers are falling and likely to shrink further. IT giants like TCS, Infosys, Wipro have already seen their H1B workforce halved in recent years. Entry-level roles are shrinking, remote work and offshore delivery are becoming the new normal. The impact cuts across sectors. Tech firms, hospitals, universities, even startups in the US are all feeling the pressure. The losses for America are real, but Indian origin talent power companies like Google, Microsoft, IBM, Indian doctors from a large part of the US healthcare system, universities also rely heavily on international researchers, and H1B families contribute billions of dollars every year to the US economy. While the US risks losing out, India has much to gain. We'll be focusing on how exactly can it do so in the long term. Higher visa costs means more Indian professionals will stay back at home. Those returning bring capital, networks and international work culture. Global capability centers in India also growing rapidly. Startups and deep tech firms are getting a fresh pool of talent. So for India, this storm may well be a turning point, a chance to retain its best while also negotiating better global mobility for the future. So we'll take this conversation forward, talk about what this means in terms of the India story going forward, and joining us is businessman and columnist Sohail Seth. Good morning, Sohail. Hope you're doing well. Sohail, let's start with first, the negative impact as is being weighed in on. That's what everyone's talking about. What happens to everyone who's looking at H1B visa going forward? So tightening of these visa rules by US in the Indian context. Decode that story for us and then we'll talk about the opportunities placed there.
So there are three issues here. A, Indian companies, if they're hiring locals in the US, obviously their payroll costs may be high in certain sectors. But by and large, what I see, Kritsveen, is that there will be an offshoring by many companies and they will just move their bases out of America till this maniac is in office. The day Trump leaves, the global order of sanity will return. But till then, it is chaotic. So the sectors that will suffer or that will be impacted, to my mind, are apparel, textiles, gems and jewelry, and IT services. But I don't see IT services getting so badly hit because they will just switch shores. And to that end, the people who will actually suffer are Americans and American companies. Because let's imagine there is nearshoring or offshoring. Those people today are contributing to the American economy even though they are on H1B visa. So when you get them off those H1B visas and move them out of the country, that economic contribution also suffers, which someone as stupid as Donald Trump doesn't understand or realize, but he will. Like the tariffs will bring about a sense and a reality of inflation post October that you and I can't imagine. So ultimately, in making America great again, he's also making America suffer again. So it's from MAGA to MASA. So I really don't know, what's happening, but I also believe this is a great opportunity for India. It's a great opportunity for large Indian companies and small Indian companies to think innovatively, to stop being the labor arbitrage capital of the world, and to do things which are globally competitive, both in terms of the brands they build and the markets they conquer. Look, North America, if you look at our export figures, we are talking about a 780 billion total export figure out of India, of which about 98 to 100 billion is what we do with America. So you're not talking about a large sum. So that's how I think it's not going to be that impactful. It will be short-term pain, but hopefully long-term gain.
Okay, short-term pain, long-term gain. We've got a few kilometers to cover before we reach our final destination though. So let's talk about that story a little bit, what more we need to do. Let's zoom out a little, Sohail. Tell us about the long-term scenario here. To one's mind, the first thing that comes with this is an opportunity. That reduced outflow of skilled Indian tech professionals also means more talent stays back in India. How do you see that playing out? How soon can that start being advantage India?
So there are two things here. Number one, I've said this on your channel multiple times. The government now needs to step in. This whole ease of business nonsense must be taken seriously. You need greater amount of government participation in the startup ecosystem. I'm not saying people should expect money from the government, but they should expect ease of business. One. Two, we must change our education syllabi. Our education is all about number crunching and rote learning. There's no innovation, there's no unfettered freedom which we accord to the minds of many of these bright Indians. And I think it will improve. See, ultimately, people want to stay in their own country as far as possible. Yeah. The great American dream, Christine, has become the great American nightmare. People across the world are seeing what ICE, agents are doing across America. No one wants to go into a country that hates you or revels in its displeasure towards you. So I think it's a great godsend for us in India to retain our talent and then to harness that talent in a way that actually adds value. It can't just be cost arbitrage or labor arbitrage.
So, what does tightening of H1B visa rules mean for the startup ecosystem in India? If we just talk numbers, it ranks third globally. Could this move then accelerate this momentum further? What's your analysis there?
Absolutely. B, more and more Indians who were looking at investing abroad will now look at investing in India. C, I think, and I said this again earlier on your channel, the government of India needs to do two things. One is we need to send delegations, not delegations, but we need to send some great Indian corporate leaders. I mentioned earlier, send a Mukesh Ambani, send a Chandra across the world to look at investments. Look at what Jio is, in fact, the perfect startup, albeit comes from a big corporate house. But look at what Chandra is doing with defense. Look at what small startups have done. Whether you talk about the Kamath brothers, whether you talk about Sri Vembu, all these people have done amazing work. They just need more encouragement. And I think India now needs to redefine its image and move away from being the cheapest to being the most innovative and most inventive country in the world. Because see, we have brain power, we need to harness it.
You've given us a couple of talking points we need to decode further. So we'll come back to you. A lot of taglines also that you're giving us on the Breakfast Club this morning. We'll come back to you in just a few seconds. So let's shift our focus and talk about the forward-looking story here. There are limits to how much India can absorb. Our research infrastructures, patchy universities lag global standards. Research and development funding is low and social infrastructure makes it harder to retain talent long term. If not the US, then where? Let's talk about the other options available for the young turning to other nations. For instance, countries like Canada, Germany, UK, Australia, Singapore, UAE, even Japan are opening doors to Indian engineers, doctors, researchers. Each of them has its own immigration system, salary benchmarks, settlement pathways. So, going across to Sohail once again. Sohail, we've spoken of what really is the positive outcome that India can await. What are the other options that youngsters in India can turn to? Let's take in a word from you then. Countries you think that are best positioned to emerge as the global tech talent hub due to its open immigration policies. Can you name a few? Would you say it's Canada, UK, Germany, France? In which order do they stand to gain as per you?
So let me tell you, other than Germany, both are shit shows, pardon the French. Canada has been going through its whole murky past thanks to Justin Trudeau, and the UK is on knife's edge with an absolute joker, Keir Starmer, running the country. You saw 2 weeks ago, actually 2 Sundays ago, the march against migration. So those countries are still fighting migration of any kind. They're still reveling in identity politics. But countries like Germany, like France, are open for business. And we should look at those countries. We should look at Japan. We should, look at the entire African continent. Because those countries need help. They have the money, they have the wherewithal, and they will be very supportive of any initiatives that India, oblique Government of India, or Indians take.
Have you noticed a pattern here, Mr. Seth? You think countries are competing for talent like they'd compete for capital, and you may not necessarily agree to this in terms of the United States and the picture US has put out for the world, but who do you think is doing this the best?
So they used to compete for capital. They never competed for talent other than talent in the healthcare sector, and that too nurses or doctors to a stretch. But I think America has made itself such a pariah in the world that now all the countries will have an open season to attract talent. So I see a lot of talent flowing to continents like, South America. I see Latin America, the whole universe. I see Europe opening out more and more for business, serious talent. So I'm a great optimist. I believe whatever has happened for the better. And we should take advantage. The only problem with us as a country is we have a problem for every solution. We don't think things through with alacrity and speed, and that's what we should do.
And how do you suggest we do that, Sohail? What more should India do to fully capitalize on this opportunity? In your words, how can India turn brain drain to brain gain?
So get government out, get corporate leaders in, get policies, which are conducive to immediate growth, and stop this goddamn planning commission nonsense of we'll plan for tomorrow. We have to start doing things as if it was yesterday. And I think the alacrity that we need to express and exude and exhibit must be now. A, B, look, Narendra Modi, whatever you say, thought about it in terms of Startup India and Make in India. We now need to accelerate this and accelerate it with grit and determination.
Okay, lovely. Sohail, we'll come back to you in just a few seconds. There's another story that we need to decode for all the youngsters who are watching The Breakfast Club this morning to talk about what options exist for them. India, other nations, what are the different criteria that are followed in some of these competing nations? So let's start with these criteria that are essential, that you will have to go through, you will have to follow through in case you're looking at an opportunity outside. So Canada, for instance, uses express entry where points are given for age, education and language skills. Australia runs skill select. Germany has the blue card and a new opportunity card that lets professionals search for jobs once inside the country. Singapore and UAE focus on employer offers and golden visas. Japan, in its case, is aggressively targeting AI and robotics talent through its highly skilled professional program. That's what the countries are essentially looking at. But do remember, most of these countries are not just picking talent randomly. They're scoring applicants based on clear criteria: education, work, experience, language ability, also salary levels. In fact, 2/3 of all H1B approvals last year in the US were for computer-related jobs, showing exactly where the demand lies. That's how skill migration systems worldwide generally work. Points for qualification, language tests, experience and in-demand skills. Sometimes job offers are mandatory, sometimes they're not. So as America closes its doors, the rest of the world is watching. Let's go across to Sohail once again. Sohail, having pointed out to some of these criteria being followed around language proficiency, other criteria that are looked at by each of these countries before taking in immigrants, do you think these country-specific criteria can be done away with? A universal framework can be developed for evaluating skilled immigrants in the long term? Do you think it's high time we work on this?
Absolutely. And this is where you need, good consultants to come in, or good practices or good academics to come in and weigh in. There's no question that you can have a global skilling metric which allows for people to transfer, migrate, move between countries. Look, Kenichi Ome, the famous McKinsey chap in Japan, 20, 30 years wrote a book called A Borderless World. Michael Porter talked about competitive advantage of nations. So we're not reinventing anything. We have the academic know-how, we have the academic heft. We now need to put things into action. My worry is that there's more talk in this country than action.
Okay. So for all those youngsters who are watching this, who are listening to you, who are taking in advice from you, Sohail, what would you say? All those looking at exploring options abroad, which country to you seems like an attractive destination? To begin with, just owing to ease of process.
See, I think what is easy is Europe, because it's fairly liberal, it's more outgoing, and it is desperate in need of business process reinvention and reinvention of businesses. Because Europe has also been scarred by Donald Trump. Africa has a great need. We have to measure and manage it and correlate it to their propensity to afford oblique pay. Latin America, certain countries are also, upset with Trump. We should look at those countries, whether it's Brazil, Argentina. These are large economies. I'm talking about large economies. So just imagine North America doesn't exist for the next 3 years and 3 months. And then hopefully everything will be fine. Imagine Trump was a bad dream, which he is, but imagine that even with more ferocity.
Okay, many thanks, Sohail, for that wonderful conversation, for summing up that entire story, for really giving us perspective into what Indians can look forward to next and what's really the positive takeaway from all of this headline making that US has generated. Thank you for joining us this morning. We head into a very quick break. Coming up next, viewers, we talk about Garba that doesn't end with Navratri. Jigar Soni joins us as our person of interest this morning in just a bit.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I'm formally releasing our principles for peace, which people have really liked, I must say. And these are done, not just routinely done, these are done with total consideration and working with the nations that we're talking about. All of these nations have made contributions to those suggestions. I want to thank the leaders of many Arab and Muslim nations for their tremendous support in developing the proposal, along with many of our allies in Europe. Europe has been very much involved, and as I was called by many of the European leaders, most of them saying, is this true? Are you really doing peace in the Middle East? This is the most incredible thing we've heard. Some think it's the biggest thing they've ever heard. They called just to find out, was it just a rumor or is it actually done? And then he said, have you spoken to the Arab leaders? Have you spoken to all of the other leaders that we have to get? A lot of people involved in this one. I also want to thank Prime Minister Netanyahu for agreeing to the plan and for trusting that if we work together, we can.
I'll come back to you. President Donald Trump ordered 10% tariff on imports of softwood timber and lumber, as well as 25% levies on kitchen cabinets, vanities, and upholstered wood products, marking the latest bid to use import taxes to shore up domestic manufacturing. The tariffs are set to apply from October 14, with some increases targeted to take effect from January 1. All right, let me go back to Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, Donald Trump is playing tariff. In everything, every news which comes here, it is related to tariff. Now, this 10% tariff, tell us more about this.
You know, with the cinema that we were just talking about, Trump has sworn to protect California. Over the furniture, he is out to protect North Carolina, the state North Carolina on the east of the US, and that is quite a home for manufacture of furniture. Quite clearly, there is a lobby there that has been in touch with Trump. They want protection against imports of assembled furniture, and that principally comes from Vietnam and some other countries in Southeast Asia. They are a big source and supplier of furniture to the US, as they are to many other places in the world. This is now what Trump is targeting. Nothing is too small for him. So now kitchen cabinets have caught his attention, and he's out to tariff those, supposedly to protect the domestic manufacturing, principally in North Carolina, but of course across the US. How far this can succeed and how this can succeed, again, as with a lot of Trump's orders, is simply not known.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for putting all these stories into perspective.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I'll come back to you. President Donald Trump ordered 10% tariff on imports of softwood timber and lumber, as well as 25% levies on kitchen cabinets, vanities, and upholstered wood products, marking the latest bid to use import taxes to shore up domestic manufacturing. The tariffs are set to apply from October 14, with some increases targeted to take effect from January 1. All right, let me go back to Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, Donald Trump is playing tariff. In everything, every news which comes here, it is related to tariff. Now, this 10% tariff, tell us more about this.
You know, with the cinema that we were just talking about, Trump has sworn to protect California. Over the furniture, he is out to protect North Carolina, the state North Carolina on the east of the US, and that is quite a home for manufacture of furniture. Quite clearly, there is a lobby there that has been in touch with Trump. They want protection against imports of assembled furniture, and that principally comes from Vietnam and some other countries in Southeast Asia. They are a big source and supplier of furniture to the US, as they are to many other places in the world. This is now what Trump is targeting. Nothing is too small for him. So now kitchen cabinets have caught his attention, and he's out to tariff those, supposedly to protect the domestic manufacturing, principally in North Carolina, but of course across the US. How far this can succeed and how this can succeed, again, as with a lot of Trump's orders, is simply not known.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for putting all these stories into perspective.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I'll come back to you. President Donald Trump ordered 10% tariff on imports of softwood timber and lumber, as well as 25% levies on kitchen cabinets, vanities, and upholstered wood products, marking the latest bid to use import taxes to shore up domestic manufacturing. The tariffs are set to apply from October 14, with some increases targeted to take effect from January 1. All right, let me go back to Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, Donald Trump is playing tariff. In everything, every news which comes here, it is related to tariff. Now,
Welcome back. It's Ashtami today, Navratri tomorrow, Dussehra the day after. And for most people, this is the peak of Garba season. But for Jigar Soni, our person of interest this morning, Garba isn't a 9-day celebration. It's a year-round commitment. Back in 1998, Jigar and his brother Suhrad started what would eventually become one of the most recognized Garba institutions in the world, the Soni School of Garba Dance. They've taken a traditional folk art, built a certified syllabus, trained dancers across 22 cities and 8 countries, and even helped make Garba part of school curriculums in Bombay, where students now get actual academic credit for learning it. Also, add to that choreography credits for some of Falguni Pathak's most iconic Garba anthems. But at the core of it is the question, how do you keep something rooted in tradition relevant for what we call Gen Z? Our person of interest this morning, Jigar Soni, joins us. Good morning, Jigar. Hope you're doing well. Jigar, to begin with, let's rewind a bit. What sparked this Garba journey for you and your brother Suhrad? Where did it all begin? Tell us a little bit about your dance school.
When we are Gujarati, so Garba comes as a vansh mein aata hai, something like that. So we have always been dancing Garba all our lives. But what happened in 1996, I got a chance to represent the Mumbai University at the All India Youth Festivals. And that is where I happened to become the national champion, won a gold medal for folk dancing by the government of India. Post that, the way we look at folk dancing completely changed for me. Because prior to that, I was always dancing Garba as a family, me and my sister, my brother the youngest. But until then, we did not know the beauty and the authenticity part in that much detailing. Post 1996, when we started going to Navratris, we felt that there was something missing, there was a gap somewhere, how our culture was represented. That was a time when I think Bombay was trending big time in the disco Garba and the disco Dandiya trends. And that is where I think we as a family, we thought that rather than just standing out and cribbing that it's not happening, we thought that let's pick up from that beautiful quote of Gandhiji that be the change what you want to see. And from there on, maybe we started this journey of teaching Garba, because we were blessed to learn it from our guru, Kumari Indumati Leleji, the values of folk dancing. And from there we started teaching in one of the suburbs in Mumbai, and now we have reached 17 countries and 62 cities worldwide now, teaching Garba in the most purest, authentic form what we are trying.
Your outfit, Jigar, tells us you're all about Garba, you know, all these days. You look lovely, but tell us about, back in time, your story a little bit. We are learning that you were once exploring aviation, right? What made you choose this cultural route instead? Stark contradiction to what your initial thoughts were on what you want to do.
See, I'll tell you, when you come from a middle class family, that salary is a very important part to come at the end of the month. So yes, we come from the typical middle class families, and and when I'm talking about the mid 80s, thinking about dance as a career was like next to impossible. So yes, I managed to do my MBA from one of India's top 10 colleges at that point of time, Sydenham College. And yes, I've worked with different companies. I've had a 20 years of corporate experience, majority being into aviation. The biggest stint was with Deccan Charters, Captain Gopinath's company, where I was their national head for sales and business development. But what happened was, parallelly since 1998, as a hobby, as a passion, we had started our dance institute. But what happens is the general perception is that Garba is a seasonal dance. Garba is only during Navratri. That we started off in that particular ways, but gradually how times change. So we started expanding our syllabus. And from just doing it 1 month prior to Navratri, we made it 3 months prior to Navratri, 6 months prior to Navratri. And I think the big change came in maybe post 2015 when we decided to go around the year, because I think it was accepted so beautifully everywhere. I was called to the United Nations World Dance Congress to give a lecture on Garba, where I proved that Garba is the most performed dance in the world. Then I thought that why are these restrictions of doing Garba only just once in a year for 10 days only. So we were parallelly doing both the careers, and there I think finally a time came in 2018-19 where I thought that both the careers were super fantastic, but obviously Garba had a big edge over my aviation thing. And I thought that maybe what we could contribute through Garba to the society, to the country, on the cultural front, I think that would be something very unique, which I think not too much is happening on those lines. So I think that is how the gradual shift happened from aviation, from the corporate world to the cultural side.
Okay, so Garba had your heart. Yours is also a story, Jigar, interestingly, of choosing your passion over everything else. So thank you for being, an inspiration this morning. For many, Garba is just Navratri dance, like you rightly pointed out. For you, it's much more. What makes Garba deeper than just performance for you?
Again, I think it's a very beautiful question what you're asking. See, there was a time when for me also it was just a dance form. Unless and until I got exposed to the various folk dances. We have in India some fantastic folk dances, but unfortunately there are not too many mediums through how it can be reaching to the people. Garba becomes one of the most easily accessible dance forms in the country, because you ask any non-Gujarati also that which one dance form have you experienced, and they will say Garba, because of the Navratri festival. In various cities, I think it is celebrated in a very beautiful way. So I think that is one of the reasons why we thought that we have to do something, because nowadays Garba is not just a dance form. It is culture. There is a lot of spirituality, there is a lot of divinity. I use this word a lot in the last couple of years. There has to be a lot of bhav, what you call it, the expression, the emotion. Unfortunately, in the fast-moving trends, people have gone only on the impress side. They've forgotten that this can be a very beautiful way to express. I'm not against impressing, but I surely believe that first you have to express and then impress. In this bargain, sometimes a lot of people are directly getting into impress, and maybe that is where the whole problem is starting, because they are treating Garba as just a dance form. I think through our school, we are taking this initiative to make people remember that Navratri is a festival, not just an event. I think that is what has been happening in a lot of major cities, that Navratri is becoming more of an event. And I think at our school, we are trying to take this initiative of making it that feel come back. I will not say that I'm doing anything new. At our school, me and my brother, we are just trying to get the old things back, because in Bombay, we have n number of discotheques to go and dance in that particular way. I do not want people to come to a Garba festival and do that. For that, you have discotheques. Please, I also go there and express myself there. But on the name of Navratri, on the name of Garba, I want Garba to be Garba.
Lovely. You spoke of this term called fast-moving trends, which takes me back to the word fusion. Everything is about fusion in today's day and age. How do you then innovate with choreography, with music, while still preserving the traditional soul of Garba?
See, again, there is a very big misconception what people have. The way I look at Garba dancing, that it is a social dance, where people come, traditionally they come on the streets, in villages and all, and they come all together and dance together. There are no fixed songs, there are random songs coming in. Traditionally they used to sing and perform. There used to be a dholi, there used to be a shehnai, and people used to perform on that. Choreography, I keep it as a very separate thing and as a modernization thing. I am right now a big fan of the traditional Garba where the social dancing is happening. Choreography comes when you go up on stage, when you perform in a cinema or theatres or whatever. That is a separate part completely. What is happening is people do not know where to draw a line. From our school, what we are trying to do is that I have been asked these questions a lot of time that what is new in Garba? I said that I do not want to cross a particular boundaries on the name of new and innovation. Because for me, I was told very simple basic things in Garba. That Garba has to happen with a clap and a snap. Nowadays, I see a lot of people dancing tremendously, claiming it to be Garba, but I don't see a clap and snap happening. So for me, that is just a dance form. For me, it is very simple that I want to innovate. Like Garba is known to be having performed by taking circles and baithaks and bends and everything. So circles, traditionally I used to see that people used to take one circles in a particular Bethadi Garba what we play. Maybe for me that innovation can be that instead of one, with the right beats, how can I make it 2 or 4, keeping the beats in mind. But crossing that boundary beyond certain things, I am not a big fan of that because that will be something, a completely new different dance form, and for me that is not Garba at all. So at our class, at our school, we make it a point that we tell people that we do not have anything new. We have that simple Betadi Garba, we have that simple Tran Tadi Garba, and we have that Heech happening, we have the Dandiya dance happening. So again, innovations without crossing the Indianness of it. Because nowadays I see a lot of Salsa Garba happening, contemporary Garba happening, Bolly Garba happening, and the common audience is getting misled by that. They still believe that that is the original form. With all due respect, that's a new thing. I will appreciate if that is given a new name for it. But when you use the name Garba, you have to respect the responsibility which is coming with it.
Okay, Jigar, let's ask you a question now about today's generation, because the Gen Z is known for crossing boundaries in every aspect of life. How do today's younger audiences, especially the Gen Z, connect with Garba, and what's the biggest challenge in keeping them engaged?
Yes, I think definitely there is a challenge. So I will address this in 2 parts. See, one is basically the easy way out. The easy way out is basically I give you what you want. That is the easiest thing for me to do. But as an artist, I want to do something what I believe in. And when I believe in something and I present that to people, then the right people will definitely come to me. So that is how I want to look at this scenario, that I want to believe in something, I have a vision, I have a thought process about this particular dance form. And when you talk about Gen Zs, I have been, this year itself, I think we have taught at least 5,500 students in schools and colleges as academics. And what my experience has always been is that it is just a matter of presenting it to them with a lot of conviction, and they definitely accept what you are giving them. Nowadays, what a lot of people are doing is they are just taking the shortcuts of directly not even trying to attempt to give them something what is right and what is what they are convinced about. So I think keeping that in mind, I think what we have done is we have got ourselves into education. So maybe I want to catch them young, maybe when they are in schools itself, rather than before their mind gets corrupt by the time they become teens and all. So we have made this, we are not against any dance forms and any other things, but I want to catch them young and get them taught what the right values are at a very young age.
So to catch them young, you've created a certified syllabus for Garba that's recognized internationally, with Garba of Gujarat inscribed on UNESCO's heritage list. Tell us the story there.
So again, I think I'll just go back to your previous question when you said what is about innovations. So again, maybe I would say that maybe it is just about presenting it to people in the best possible way, because they need to feel that there is something different happening. So for me, as I said, I will not change my content, but maybe I will change the wrapper and give it to them, rather than changing the content and giving it to them. So that I think is something, I think that is where my MBA marketing is helping me. But what we have done is that traditionally when you pick up any Gujarati movie, you will not find anything beyond Betadi and Tran Tadi Garba happening. We have still maintained the very same thing. but keeping the innovations in mind, because I had someone beautiful to guide me, who's been very instrumental, Professor Vinayak Dalvi, who was the principal secretary to the governor of Maharashtra for education. He once told me that, Jigar, you have something very beautiful what you're doing. Try to structure it properly and maybe you can make a big difference. So maybe from the last 7-8 years, we started structuring a syllabus. Again, not compromising on the values, not compromising on the boundaries. And that, I think, we try to teach people in a very, very systematic way. So now we have a particular syllabus which we are teaching. Obviously, it goes without saying that the syllabuses with every different levels, the difficulty level keeps on increasing, the number of the patterns what we teach, but again not compromising on the Indianness part. So that, I think, being the members of the International Dance Council, we took our approval that maybe when we do our certified course, maybe we can present those certificates to our students who are completing those particular courses.
Okay, lovely, Jigar. Just a short while ago, we were playing out visuals of Falguni Pathak's hit songs, Garba songs, and you have been the choreographer, the mind behind those dance steps. Tell us a little bit about that experience. Let's talk about her iconic Garba anthems like Radha Ne Shyam or Vasaladi. What was the experience like? Tell us more.
So I feel really proud to say that maybe I am correct when I make this statement that Falguni Pathak ji has been like a huge blessing to us, because we have been dancing in her Navratri as a normal audience since 1997, and 2019 is when this TikTok was like at its peak. So I'll just quickly share that experience, that a lot of people were after us that why don't you make TikTok videos, and I was like, why should I make it? Because everyone else is making it. And we were like, no, then definitely I don't want to do because everyone else is making it. So that is when one of my friend, who's like a very big known name in Bollywood industry for music production, his name is Shail Hada, and he told me that, why are you avoiding this? I said, because I'm not comfortable dancing on random songs on a TikTok. So he said, I'll make a song for you. You know Falguni Pathak, call her up. So I called up Falguni Pathak ji, and I told her about the idea. And she's like, fantastic, let's do it. So that is how Radha Ne Shyam happened. That was our first production. And now I can very proudly say that maybe we have been instrumental in the top 3 songs of Falguni Pathak ji of Garba videos basically. So Radha Ne Shyam was in 2019. 2022 we were instrumental in making another song with her, that is Vasaladi. And just a month back we have released a new song with her, Gammar Valona. And trust me when I say this, my whole family will agree when I say this, that it's a beautiful treat to work with her, because the type of positivity she gets on this set and the entire environment, that is something tremendously to learn from her.
You know, with you on this, full agreement to what you're saying, especially going by these visuals that we're playing as we speak as well. Jigar, what's your long-term vision? Before we wrap up, tell us a little bit about your vision for Garba, for preserving India's cultural heritage. What advice would you give young artists, parents, educators who want to do something similar?
No, I always believe that we have to be responsible. Everyone has to be responsible. Because we travel across the globe teaching Indian dancing, and I always tell people that what I am asking you to do, by doing that you are not doing a favor on me, you are doing a favor on us, yourself. It's our culture, it's not my culture. We respect every culture which we come across, but in that bargain, in the name of fusion, in the name of innovation, please do not cross certain boundaries. Because nowadays, I was just laughing with one of the trustees of one school, that I said that it's a sad scenario where I have to incentivize a parent that, okay, this is the certificate which you'll get to teach your child about culture. So I said that's something, that's the irony currently, but I wish everyone becomes responsible. Yes, it's a modern world, it's globalization and everything happening, but let's not forget where we come from, what the roots are, and we keep preserving that with responsibility and respect all these values. And the vision part, what you're talking about is, again, as I said, since Garba is so much penetrated in every city, in every countries now, that our vision is that taking Garba global in the purest and authentic way. Because everyone is dancing Garba. I just want that everyone dances with responsibility when they use the word Garba. Otherwise, you can say that I'm doing some dance form. So we are working towards that. I think the journey so far has been fantastic.
Thank you for that lovely message. All in all, Jigar is telling us this morning on the Breakfast Club, don't limit Garba dancing to just these 10 days. Make it a year-round phenomena. Thank you. We leave this conversation on that positive note. We head into a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I'll come back to you. President Donald Trump ordered 10% tariff on imports of softwood timber and lumber, as well as 25% levies on kitchen cabinets, vanities, and upholstered wood products, marking the latest bid to use import taxes to shore up domestic manufacturing. The tariffs are set to apply from October 14, with some increases targeted to take effect from January 1. All right, let me go back to Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, Donald Trump is playing tariff. In everything, every news which comes here, it is related to tariff. Now, this 10% tariff, tell us more about this.
You know, with the cinema that we were just talking about, Trump has sworn to protect California. Over the furniture, he is out to protect North Carolina, the state North Carolina on the east of the US, and that is quite a home for manufacture of furniture. Quite clearly, there is a lobby there that has been in touch with Trump. They want protection against imports of assembled furniture, and that principally comes from Vietnam and some other countries in Southeast Asia. They are a big source and supplier of furniture to the US, as they are to many other places in the world. This is now what Trump is targeting. Nothing is too small for him. So now kitchen cabinets have caught his attention, and he's out to tariff those, supposedly to protect the domestic manufacturing, principally in North Carolina, but of course across the US. How far this can succeed and how this can succeed, again, as with a lot of Trump's orders, is simply not known.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for putting all these stories into perspective.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I'll come back to you. President Donald Trump ordered 10% tariff on imports of softwood timber and lumber, as well as 25% levies on kitchen cabinets, vanities, and upholstered wood products, marking the latest bid to use import taxes to shore up domestic manufacturing. The tariffs are set to apply from October 14, with some increases targeted to take effect from January 1. All right, let me go back to Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, Donald Trump is playing tariff. In everything, every news which comes here, it is related to tariff. Now, this 10% tariff, tell us more about this.
You know, with the cinema that we were just talking about, Trump has sworn to protect California. Over the furniture, he is out to protect North Carolina, the state North Carolina on the east of the US, and that is quite a home for manufacture of furniture. Quite clearly, there is a lobby there that has been in touch with Trump. They want protection against imports of assembled furniture, and that principally comes from Vietnam and some other countries in Southeast Asia. They are a big source and supplier of furniture to the US, as they are to many other places in the world. This is now what Trump is targeting. Nothing is too small for him. So now kitchen cabinets have caught his attention, and he's out to tariff those, supposedly to protect the domestic manufacturing, principally in North Carolina, but of course across the US. How far this can succeed and how this can succeed, again, as with a lot of Trump's orders, is simply not known.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sanjay, for putting all these stories into perspective.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
I'll come back to you. President Donald Trump ordered 10% tariff on imports of softwood, timber and lumber, as well as 25% levies on kitchen cabinets, vanities and upholstered wood products, marking the latest bid to use import taxes to shore up domestic manufacturing. The tariffs are set to apply from October 14, with some increases targeted to take effect from January 1. All right, let me go back to Sanjay Suri. Sanjay, Donald Trump is playing tariff. In everything, every news which comes here, it is related to tariff. Now, this 10% tariff, tell us more about this.
You know, with the cinema that we were just talking about, Trump has sworn to protect California. Over the furniture, he is out to protect North Carolina, the state North Carolina on the east of the US, and that is quite a home for manufacture of furniture. Quite clearly, there is a lobby there that has been in touch with.
Welcome back. We now bring to you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium healthcare metals destination for investing in business insights. We start with Gift Nifty and how it's indicating a muted opening for Indian stock markets. US stock markets close higher on buying in shares of information technology companies. Gold prices are also at record high, and this on continued demand for safe haven assets. Crude oil prices ease on expectations of production hikes by OPEC. Shifting our focus to sector-specific patterns now, many consumer durable companies saw weaker sales in Q1 financial year 26 thanks to a mild summer and a high base effect from last year. The challenge is extended into Q2 of financial year 26, with sales impacted by elevated trade inventory. A 5-week lag between the GST rate cut announcement and its implementation also impacted Q2 sales. A rebound is expected from Q3, supported by lower prices, post-GST cut, pent-up demand and festive season tailwinds. So do log into Money Control Pro to find out more about India's consumer durable sector, other actionable insights on markets. It's the premier destination for all investing views and financial insights you will ever need. Well, that's all we could pack for you this Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. Lots more lined up through the week. We will take you through the festivities, the other interesting conversations making it to headlines. Tomorrow, same time, same place. See you.
So you've seen the big